Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Talk to you today about Python. Why Python and very important functions that we usually teach to get you familiarize you with the language. So Python is a very simple scripting language that makes it easy for you to interact with data. In fact, it is more scalable than other alternatives like R software. If you were a user of Dropbox, just interesting to know that a Dropbox desktop client was written entirely in Python computer language. And also, Python has probably bypassed other more mature programming languages in terms of the number of users or developers, active developers. According to a source /data, they say that currently there are about 8.2 million Python users compared to almost 7 million developers of Java programming language. So it's worth studying. I talked in a previous video on how to install the Anaconda Python and the Jupyter Notebook. Of course, with the Anaconda distribution, you could, after installing the Anaconda distribution corresponding to your operating system, what you need to do is you need to go to the Anaconda Navigator, as you can see here. With the Anaconda Navigator, you could get either the Jupyter Lab, which is an extensive environment for interactive and reproducible computing based on the Jupyter Notebook and architecture. So this is with this, if you are more comfortable with the Jupyter Notebook. Or you could use, I think another professor in TIU is using Spider Notebook. Either one should be fine. I think Spider is more scientific and it's more used if your purpose is to create applications. So if our purpose is to create applications, and I think some of our students maybe are more into development and creating applications, then you go with Spider. But if you are a business analyst using or consuming a code and making a little bit of addition and alternating the code to suit your needs, and basically you're there to develop code for you want to develop a package, then you probably use the lab. But you could start also with the Jupyter Notebook. Jupyter Notebook is a web-based interactive computing notebook environment. It's also very human-readable documents. Well, this is why I like it. One of the things I like about it is that I can easily integrate my notes into the Jupyter Notebook. And this is why I use Jupyter and I don't use Spider. I'm just got used to Jupyter instead of Spider, but it's either one is all right. Shouldn't be a big deal. So what I need from you is to kindly install the Anaconda Python distribution for your corresponding operating system, and then go ahead and head to the Anaconda Navigator and launch the Jupyter Notebook. I think I already launched the Jupyter Notebook, yeah, so yeah, be careful. So here is my Jupyter Notebook. What you need to do is you need to create a new folder. I created multiple folders and they are all untitled folder, untitled folder, untitled folder. So be careful when you're creating a folder, it's an untitled folder, yeah? So over here you could rename this folder. You can rename it and let's call it Big Data Analytics course. As for me, I'm going to just give it 1 in the front so that probably it could be, yeah, at the very top, so it's easy for me to see it. So I'm just going to add 1 for that purpose, Big Data and Analytics course. I might even, add the year so that for me, I'm going to just add the year. I'm going to just add 2021 and that's it. So over here, you have a folder dedicated for learning Python with me. So you can also create a folder for your own training. So you can add a new folder and call it, for example, I'm going to just use one of these guys. No, this is a different untitled folder. You see there's nothing in there. So I'm going to use one of these untitled folders over here and rename it as a training. So I'm going to just put 1 training for a big data course. Yeah. So here it is, yeah. So you could add whatever you want here for training. This is I'm going to be using with you when I teach you in class. This is for now. I'm just actually trying to prep for the course, and I said, you know what, since I'm prepping, I'm just going to speak out loud and record myself and put it on YouTube for the purpose of helping my students if they want to go over the notes on their own. So over here now you have a dedicated folder for the course. Very good. Let me just make sure that I'm still recording. Yes, we are still recording. I am in 5 minutes. Okay, Mark, very good. Still a short video considerably. And now we can start with the Jupyter notebook. Let's take a look at the Jupyter notebook interface. In fact, you can, here on my slides, I can easily show you, I'm easily showing you how to add a new folder. I showed you, and a new, now I'm going to show you how to add a new file for Python, and then we can start typing the code. All right, let's go ahead and start with a new Python. Guys, please install Python 3. If you had installed Python 2, my advice, I don't know, maybe things has changed now, but back in the time when I had Python 2 installed on my machine and then I installed Python 3, it was a big mess, a super big mess, a super big mess. So I had to uninstall, get rid of Python 2 completely on my machine and start with Python 3 all clean. So this is my advice to you. Just get always the most updated Python version anyway. So over here now we are starting with a Jupyter notebook. In fact, I would like to show you Spider. I think I have it. Yeah, I think I do have it. Now, Spider is not a web interface. It is on your machine, but I thought maybe it is. Yeah, this is a Spider. It takes a while. Yeah. Here we go. So this is really fun to use. It resembles the R Studio. Spider 5 is available. Okay, why not? And here a little bit about the use of it. I think I may as well, you know, switch to using Spider. It's not bad. It's not bad. It's really interesting to use. But I would just say, I just got used to probably using Jupyter. It's not bad, guys. It's not that this is worse than this or this is better than this. Not at all. Not at all. But, well, because I know that another professor is probably using Spider, so maybe we should probably all use the same thing. So I'm going to just consult with other professors and see, but it's the same code, the same everything. It just, as a matter of fact, probably you have more windows to take a look at here. So you feel this is more legit. Here you can take a look at certain, this is also interesting. This is for this is a development environment. This is what I say. If you want to develop a package, you're developing a whole package, then this is a good place to start with. Yeah, if you are a developer. But if you are consuming a code, probably you don't need all this sophistication and you just stick to the Jupyter notebook. Not a bad idea. All right, let's get started. Now, would like to call this Getting Started, and I'm going to call it A because it's the first thing we're doing together. So Getting Started with Python. And here we go. Now we have the file, the notebook, sorry. The notebook is called Getting Started with Python. And 2 minutes ago, okay, auto-saved. Don't log out. You don't need to log out really. This is written in Python 3. And here you can just add a new notebook. You can make a copy of it, save it as. I love save as feature because with the save as feature, maybe not, you can rename it here. Actually, I love the download as. The download as feature, I can download it as a notebook so I can share it with you. You can upload it directly into your folder. So for example, you missed the class and you wanted the code, even though I will never give you the code. I will just don't like giving my students the code. This means that you did nothing. You didn't type anything. But If you want to share a code together, you can just upload, and over here you can upload the file that I saved for you or your partner saved for you as a notebook. However, you will find me most likely doing the PDF, because with the PDF, as you can see here, not here, here, with the PDF, guys, I will be able to show you the where am I? No, this is something I'm not gonna have enough time to give you here. With the file, as you can see here, getting started with Python, with the PDF file, you can follow the instructions. This is why I like using Jupyter. It's good for education, guys. Even if you are developing a whole application together with my students, I will still use it probably, because I can show you here. I have my notes. I tell you what to do. You can easily, you know, do what the code here engulfed in boxes, and here is the output, so you can see my output, how does it look like, and compare it with yours, and so on. So I think this is quite interesting, easy, and probably I should check probably like similar options available in Spider. All right, let's get started. Enough of the blah 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 blah. All right, this is for the library. I'm gonna head into this right now. So before we do anything, in fact, I would like to switch to talking to you about different libraries here with the Anaconda or the Python. The first library I would like to talk about is called the pandas library. The pandas library is one of the most important libraries in Python, and most preferred and widely used tool in data preparation and wrangling, like cleaning. It is an open source, of course, free for you to use, so why not? Panda takes data in either CSV or SQL database, so we can connect to our SQL server with the Panda or the CSV and create a Python object with rows and columns called data frame. So it's a Python object, rows and columns, data frame, like a matrix, that looks very similar to a tabular like tables, table data in statistical spreadsheet softwares. All right, it is dependent on other libraries. For example, we're going to be using NumPy and has optional dependencies. For example, the matplotlib library for plotting. So basically, you can tell that we're going to be using Panda, and I don't understand why I don't have it here in bold. We might be also using NumPy or NumPy. I think it's maybe NumPy, and then matplotlib library. Okay, NumPy, pandas, and matplot, which is like matplot library. All right, important pandas library. We have on the Jupyter Notebook or Spider, both of them come with the Anaconda distribution, of course, as a default. You just need to import the library. So we can import the pandas library, the NumPy library, and the matplot library. Let's do it together right now. So you need to import, and you can see that it is now turning into a green because it's part of the function we're using, and we're importing the pandas library. Now there's pandas and pandas. You need to make sure that you're writing the pandas in not in capital, but rather in a small letter. So import pandas, and then I'm going to talk about so import pandas. So please make sure that you have it, and as PD. What does PD means? PD means this is the shortcut, very commonly used shortcut. Instead of using in the code as we are going through our code, and you wanna call certain functions, like these libraries enhance different functions. So the library is like a library you go to has different books. Books has different pages. So it's the same. Library has different classes and different functions. So we're going to call a certain function or a certain object, a class. So what we need to do here with Python is, for example, there are function get. Let's imagine, just imagination, something called get as a function. And this function exists, in fact, in both pandas and in NumPy, for example. So how do you call it? Maybe the computer, the whole system would get confused. So this is why you need to put panda and then, pandas and then dot, and then the name of the function if it's get. Let's imagine that there's a function called get. And then when you want to call the function get from the other library, which is NumPy, you just call the library first, tell the system that I am calling the get function that belongs to the NumPy. It's like a tree. It's like a family tree. This is the mother and this is the child. This is the mother and this is the child. So I am using this child get, which is a kind of function that comes from the pandas library, it belongs to the NumPy library, and so on. So instead of keep on typing pandas, look at this beauty. Here you can shortcut it and use pd instead. So if you use pd.get, this means it's pandas. It belongs to the pandas. Okay, so import pandas as, and now import NumPy. So you need to import these three. I'm going to give you like one second to take a look at the set of slides and import these and tell me what you see different here. Okay, so that you are done with this exercise, this very small exercise. Here, this PD for pandas and this NP for NumPy is almost the standard in the programming, in the Python programming language. So now we're importing the matplot library, and in particular we're importing this class, which is the pyplot, and we are giving it a shortcut called here plot plt. Yeah. So now we are importing certain libraries. That's great. How do you execute this? You can run it like this, or you can hold down the shift key and hit enter. And this is what I'm going to be doing all the time. I'm not going to keep on going up with my mouse and hitting the run key. I'm just going to be holding down the shift key and hitting enter with my index. Yeah. So your thumb is holding down the shift key. Your thumb is holding down the shift key and your index finger is hitting on the enter. This is how we do it. All right, guys. So now that we imported these libraries, usually you would add the second part as PD here. So you can access pandas with pd.the command, whatever function, whatever command that you have. So like pd.get, as I told you, instead of needing to write pandas.command every time you need to use it. All right, I hope that this is understandable and easy. So for example, Nora is teaching different classes, so you can write a code like big data and analytics.nora, digital marketing marketing.nora, if Nora is the person to be calling, but calling for which class, for big data analytics class or for the digital marketing class. Yeah, you can think of it this way. Or also alternatively, you can just say that Nora is the library, Nora is the main person, and I am going to ask her a question on the class of digital marketing. So it's going to be Nora as library dot digital marketing, Nora as a library dot big data and analytics. I hope this kind of analogy helps you understand why here we need also a shortcut. Instead of calling Nora Sharkassi dot big data and analytics, just NR maybe, or Nora. All right, let's, here's the NumPy library. We also imported the NumPy library. Most likely we're gonna use the NP. And over here, the matplot library, we also imported it with a class, pyplot. All right, so there are two main ways to perform linear regression in Python. For example, you can use it with either stat models or either with, or scikit-learn. I like the scikit-learn because it has the machine learning necessary functions. It's also possible by using SciPy library. Also, SciPy library is very important. So as I'm telling you guys, even with linear regression, there are different functions that exist in different libraries. So we have one library here that maybe have ln for linear regression. Also, this library has ln for example, I'm just saying for example, and SciPy, for example. So you need to type in the name of the library or also call and import the library that you would like to use for your analysis. So let's just, for fun now, let's import this library, the stats models.api as SM. But in fact, I might be using other libraries. So I might be using other libraries, but just for the sake of practice, let's do more practice here and import the stats model, right? It's called the stats models.api. So this library, let's call it SM, stats models. And we call the class here, we're going to use the class API. So as SM. And don't forget to hold down the shift key with your thumb and hit the enter with your index so that you can execute it. So now let's just read the file. We can read a file here by calling the read function, read underscore file type from the Panda library. But I'm not going to use this. I would like to use the CSV. So as I mentioned before, there are different file types that Pandas can work with. So you could replace the file type here with, of course, CSV, Excel, as you wish. So for us, we're going to probably be using you see here, pd.read underscore CSV, and here is the file. Now, shall we start doing this right now? Let me check. Or here, in order to convert a certain Python object like dictionary, list, etc., you can use pd.dataframe. Also here, you can save it into a different file format, so df.to CSV or to Excel and so on. So let's not use any of these as of now. Let's go back to our file here. I hope that that was a very nice introduction for you for the libraries. And let's start working with certain functions here, like a print function. And let's print the hello world. The first thing I would like to say is the functions. The functions in Python, as you can see, are in green. So this is a print function and it just prints text. So we're going to print here the text hello world. So let's do that together. Let's start print. It should be in green. And then in brackets, we will have the text in red. And the text is hello world. Probably if the W is in capital, the H should be in capital. It's a personal preference, not more, not less. If you hit enter, nothing happens other than creating a new line so that you write more code, but you need to hit the shift enter, and this is the output. The output is your text. What happens if you type in print and then of course, if you open one bracket, it will close it automatically for you and write hello world. Do you see that hello world is not even in red, and you hit shift enter? You will get a syntax error. A syntax error is that you have missed something. Something is wrong here. And it tells you here, you have a problem here in this line, especially if you have multiple lines. And as you can see, the problem is definitely, and even here, we will have a syntax error. So you need to close it as well. So now it is all okay. So this is what's irritating about probably programming languages, that the error doesn't exactly tell you how to fix it. You really need to figure out how to do it yourself so far. Okay, so please try to use double quotes and see what happens. So what happens if we print here the same text, but instead of single, we have double quotes. Look what happens. And get rid of the single quotes. Exactly. Okay, look what happens. Exactly the same. So it can take either single or double quotes. So whatever you feel comfortable with. So please try it. And why don't you try something even more fun? Try printing this with a number, concatenated with a number. So let's print something like, and print is a small letter. So try to print something like, hello to you for the 5th time. Let's see what happens here. Hello to you for the 5th time. Okay, so what's happening here? What's happening here is an easy concatenation between numbers and text. So what if I wanted to write the same thing here, type in the same thing in one text? Yeah, it could happen. Oh, it's all right. For the 5th time. Same exact same. But the idea here is that in the future, we will be able to instead of inserting this as an integer that I just put 5th time, this integer may be x, may be used in a function that does a certain calculations, and depending on your data set and depending on these certain calculations, this x might get a value, not any value based on its definition, how you define it. And this is the way that we concatenate the text with a certain x value. You can also do it by putting here I think the percent sign and other signs here, and you can also don't need to concatenate it this way. There are different ways of how to do things, but well, whatever you feel comfortable with. So just for fun, take a look, and to execute a command, please do not forget to hold down the shift key. In fact, I don't understand why the shift here is on top of the enter. In my, at least on my computer keyboard, the enter is on top of the shift, but maybe this is on a laptop, or yeah, I'm sorry for the image if it's not compatible with what you've got. Not important, details. So now let's just take a look at certain values, how to assign certain values of variables with a string. So we have I is equal to 4 and f is equal to 1.6. So I is an integer. I is an integer, so we're going to just use I. So I is equal to 4, and then f is equal, and here I'm just writing equal in double equals, and I would like to show you the difference of what, if any, 1.6. So here's an error. As you can see, I is not defined, so we don't use the double equals when we are assigning a value to a certain variable. This I and f are automatically variables here. So when we are assigning a certain value to a variable, and this is, we define a variable. The language that I'm using is very important. We say that we assign a value. We assign a value to a certain variable. This variable is called I, and it's an integer. Another variable, we can give it f, the letter f. So we usually give letters. I here could be, if you want, int. But no, int is already in the programming in Python. Int is actually, let's take a look here. I'll show you. So int here, let's use int for integer, and here's 4. Can we add double? No, we can't. Yes, we can. Hi. So this is the difference. This is what I'm trying to tell you. So x could be 4. X is a variable, and 4 is a number. It's an integer. Yeah. So here, if we call x by just typing x, So we telling the computer, give me the value of x, it will give it as 4. Now, when x is assigned to a value like 4.1, now 4.1 has decimals, right? When it has decimals, it's a float, but it's all right, doesn't matter. We are just returning a float. Now take a look. Can I actually use double equals here? Well, okay, I was able to use double equals. Can I use double equals here? Oh, I was also able to use double equals, but let's imagine, well, previously wait a minute, this is what's happened. So we have x is equal to 4. What is x? X is equal to 4. What is x? Now, x, okay, x is equal to 4. What is x? 4. I think because I've used it earlier. This is why. But in any case, I would like you to pay attention to the double equals. Not necessarily all the time we can use the double equals, okay? So just please make sure that you understand that. So in any case, we use I, for example, and say I is equal to 4, yeah? And then we say we have a float, and the float is equal to 4.2. And then we want to print a certain text with these values. As you can see here, we want to say our float value is a certain value here, and our integer value is a certain value here. And then we say this here, s string. S is a string here, and s is a string with the what it means in natural language. So here's the percentage here with the s. The percentage and the s is a placeholder for a string that we don't know what it is yet. So our float value is some string, and our integer value is some string. But what are these strings? We don't know. So we closing the quotes here, either single or double, and then we're putting here this percentage so that we link it to it. This s is actually the f and I. F is first, so the first percentage belongs to this F, and the second percentage here, S, which is a string, belongs to I. And we already defined F and I. So the computer is very smart. It's gonna pull out this F value, whatever it is here, and put it in place of this placeholder, the percentage and the string. So this is what we're gonna do right now. So first of all, we define the I and the F, and now we're going to use the print function and say our integer value is, and we just put here a string, and our float value is, and then here is another string. Now we need to define these strings. So we're going to say, how are we going to, it's like an anchor. How are we going to tell the system that this is belonging to some other code that we're going to concatenate to this? By adding the percent sign. And then we say the first one, which is an integer, is actually I, and the second one is F, and we've already defined them. So here we go. Let's run this code, and here we go. This is the output. Our integer value is 4, and our float value is 4.2. Success. All right, so this is one of the little things that we do with printing function. So maybe I've been here for quite a while now. How many minutes? I am here for about 30 minutes. Okay, I'm gonna this video is over for now. I'm gonna talk about markdown or the strings in the second video.